Imagine waking up one day to find the rules of your business game have flipped upside down overnight. Prices soaring, costs ballooning, and every decision feeling like a gamble. That's the reality for many small business owners grappling with the wild swings of U.S. tariffs on imports from China. But here's where it gets controversial. Is President Trump's aggressive use of these tariffs a brilliant chess move to boost American manufacturing? Her company specializes in art-inspired travel accessories and gifts, offering everything from rain capes and umbrellas to scarves, shawls, and drinkware. They sell to boutiques, museum shops, retailers, and directly to customers online. The trouble? A big chunk of their products, like the waterproof fabric for umbrellas and rain capes, comes exclusively from China, and manufacturing them domestically just isn't feasible. So, when tariffs on Chinese goods bounced from 10% to 20% to a whopping 145%, then dropped back down, Hagerman found herself in a pricing paradox. Should she hike prices immediately to cover soaring costs, wait it out and risk bankruptcy, or absorb the hit herself and hope for the best? As she told CBS News, is this just a temporary storm or the new reality? You're agonizing over pricing. Do you raise them now or hold off? I don't want to overcharge customers. That's not ethical business. But I also have to keep the whites on and pay the bills. Rain Caper, which Hagerman started nearly a decade ago with her mother, has been thrust into the heart of President Trump's trade battles, where tariffs are the main weapon. And this is the part most people miss. These aren't just abstract policies. They're hitting small businesses like Hagerman's hard, forcing them to rethink everything from operations to staffing. To cope, she slashed expenses and even let go of 2 out of 7 employees in operations and customer service. She considered shifting manufacturing to places like Bangladesh or Cambodia. But as a military spouse with her husband stationed out of state, traveling abroad wasn't an option. Plus, the upfront investment would have been huge. When the administration claims we're pumping trillions into the economy and that China or Brazil is footing the bill, it's simply not accurate, Hagerman explained. The tariffs actually land on the importer, like me. I'm the one paying up. Now, relief might be on the horizon. The Supreme Court is gearing up to hear arguments this Wednesday on whether Trump has the legal right to impose these tariffs unilaterally under a law known as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA. For beginners wondering what IEEPA is, think of it as a special federal tool that lets the president take emergency actions on imports to handle threats to national security, foreign policy, or the economy. Trump used it to declare trade deficits and the influx of drugs like fentanyl as national emergencies, justifying sweeping tariffs on nearly every trading partner, starting at 10% and going higher for certain countries, with extra hits on China, Canada, and Mexico. Lower courts have already ruled that Trump's broadest tariffs are unlawful, arguing IEPA doesn't give him that kind of unchecked power. If the Supreme Court backs those decisions, it could significantly weaken Trump's ability to wield tariffs as a negotiation tool or to push U.S. companies toward domestic production. But if it sides with Trump, who appointed 3 of the justices, it might expand presidential powers in ways that reshape how future leaders handle global trade. And here's where it gets really divisive. Critics say this could set a dangerous precedent, allowing presidents to bypass Congress on major economic moves. Supporters, however, argue it's essential for protecting American jobs and security. What do you think? Does this empower leaders too much, or is it a necessary shield against unfair foreign practices? Since Trump rolled out these tariffs in February and April on what he dubbed Liberation Day, The administration has struck deals with 10 countries and the European Union, with more negotiations underway. Yet, lawsuits from small businesses and 12 states challenged the legality right away, claiming IEEPA doesn't cover such wide-ranging duties. A federal appeals court agreed, ruling 7-4 that many are invalid, though it allowed the tariffs to continue collecting for now. Trump has kept tweaking rates, like hiking Canadian tariffs to 35% with some exemptions, slapping a 40% extra on Brazil, and initially threatening China with an additional 100%, though he later dialed that back after talks with President Xi Jinping. The Trump team is pushing the Supreme Court to uphold the tariffs, saying Congress has historically given presidents broad emergency authority. In filings, Solicitor General D. John Sauer called IEEPA a continuation of this tradition, empowering the president to regulate importation and handle security threats. He warned that striking them down would spell disaster for national security and the economy, quoting Trump's view, "With tariffs, we're a wealthy nation. Without them, we're poor." On the other side, lawyers for the businesses argue Trump's interpretation is an overreach, pointing out that IEEPA has never been used for tariffs before and doesn't even mention the word. Neil Katyal, arguing for the plaintiffs, warned it could let presidents tax anything from cars to zoos, turning IEEPA into a blank check for sales, property, or even wealth taxes. Duke law expert Timothy Meyer echoed this, calling the government's claims extraordinarily broad. And the plaintiffs say trade deficits, which have persisted for decades, don't qualify as unusual and extraordinary threats. Plus, taxing power belongs to Congress, with clear limits on what it delegates, unlike IEEPA, which skips requirements like investigations or time limits. But wait, and this is the part most people miss. Other laws do let presidents impose tariffs, but with checks and balances. IEEPA's appeal lies in its lack of those. It's why Trump prefers it. If he wins, future presidents might ditch stricter rules for this freer approach, potentially rewriting the entire U.S. tariff system. As international law specialist Jeffrey Bialos put it, did Congress really mean to let the president override the whole tariff code? That's the big question here. This isn't just about trade. It's a test of what powers Congress can delegate under the Constitution's Article 1, Section 8. Trump's been flexing executive muscle in other areas too, like firing officials and pausing congressionally approved aid. The Supreme Court has often let his policies stand temporarily, but this tariffs case, expert Timothy Meyer warns that upholding Trump could create a free pass for administrations, linking policies to international affairs, sidelining agencies with stricter rules. The court has rejected broad executive claims before, using the major questions doctrine to block things like Biden's student loan forgiveness or COVID eviction moratoriums when Congress wasn't clear. Trump argues this doctrine doesn't apply to security matters. But opponents say tariffs are just taxes on Americans, not foreign policy. Mark Chenoweth from the New Civil Liberties Alliance, representing a stationery company, put it bluntly. Taxing citizens without representation? That's what sparked the Revolutionary War. The human cost is stark. Julie Robbins of Earthquaker Devices, a guitar pedal maker in Akron, Ohio, has shelled out nearly $40,000 in tariffs so far. They source 900-plus components from 15 countries, assembling in the U.S. to keep jobs local. Domestic alternatives? Too costly or non-existent. Shifting everything overseas would save money, but betray their values. Akron was once the rubber capital, and they want to preserve manufacturing there. People say, just make it all in the U.S., but we can't produce the raw materials here, Robbins noted. They've eroded savings, stopped hiring, and fear a mass extinction of small businesses if this continues. Cephalofair Games in California, a board game publisher, has paid over $144,000 in new duties. They've added surcharges, cut salaries, and furloughed staff. A product run meant for the U.S. is now heading to Europe, UK, and Australia instead. CEO Price Johnson says the unpredictability has killed long-term planning. We can't even count on stable policies, he lamented. Unlike Trump's first term, they're now glued to his social media for updates. In the end, this Supreme Court showdown isn't just about tariffs. It's a pivotal moment for presidential authority and small business survival. Will the justices rein in this power, or let it expand? And here's a controversial twist. Some argue tariffs do protect American workers, but others see them as hidden taxes that hurt consumers and innovation. What side are you on? Do tariffs build a stronger economy, or do they unfairly burden the little guys? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with Trump's approach, or do you think this is an overstep that needs checking?